The alarm screamed through the bridge of the UES Iron Wind. Captain Minho was drinking his third coffee when the sound made him spill it across his uniform. He cursed and set the cup down, already moving toward the command chair. "Report!" he barked. Lieutenant Day looked up from his console, his young face pale. "Distress signal, Captain. Coalition emergency channel. It's from Theta 7. Minho frowned. Theta 7 was a Velcrin mining colony. The Velcrin were crystalline beings who thought humans were barely civilized. They had fancy shields and even fancier attitudes. Last month, their ambassador had called human military tactics embarrassingly primitive during a council meeting. "What's the situation?" Minho asked. Day's fingers flew across his screen. "The signal is broken up, sir. But I'm reading words like massive casualties and unknown hostiles and—" He paused. "And they're specifically asking for human help." The bridge went quiet. Commander Yoon, Minho's second officer, raised an eyebrow. She was a tall woman with cold eyes and a reputation for getting things done. "They're asking for us? The primitives?" Minho allowed himself a thin smile. "Apparently we're not so primitive when they need saving. Distance to Theta 7? 3 days at maximum slipspace speed," Day reported. "Then take us there. Maximum speed. Battle stations." The ship hummed as the engines powered up. Minho felt the familiar vibration through his boots. 23 years he'd been doing this. 23 years of answering distress calls, fighting pirates, and being treated like a dangerous animal by species that had never known real hardship. Dr. Hana Kong entered the bridge, her medical bag still on her shoulder. She was the ship's xenobiologist and one of the few humans who genuinely liked aliens. "I heard the alarm. What's happening?" "Velcrin colony under attack," Minho said. "Unknown hostiles." Hana's face went serious. "How many Velcrin on Theta 7? 37,000, Dai answered quietly. "God," Hana whispered. The next few hours were tense. More fragments of the distress call came through. Each one was worse than the last. The attackers had broken through all Velcrin defenses in just a few hours. That shouldn't be possible. Velcrin shields were among the best in the galaxy. Their defensive technology had saved countless coalition worlds. Ambassador Yunji appeared on the bridge. She was a Velcrin, her crystalline body catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns across the walls. Usually she moved with grace and confidence. Now she trembled. "Captain Minho," she said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes, but the music was broken. "My people, are they—" "We're going as fast as we can," Minho said. His voice was gentler now. "We'll get there." Yunji's crystalline eyes fixed on him. 3 months ago, my people laughed when you suggested joint military exercises. We said humans were too violent, too aggressive. We said your weapons were crude." She made a sound like breaking glass. It took Minho a moment to realize she was crying. "Now, we're dying and begging for that violence." Minho had nothing to say to that. He turned back to the view screen. Yoon stepped closer to him, her voice low. "Sir, I'm picking up something odd. Other human ships are changing course. They're all heading toward Theta 7. "How many?" 15 so far. More coming." Minho felt something cold in his chest. "We didn't call for backup." "No, sir. They're just coming." By the end of the first day, 23 human vessels were racing toward Theta 7. Ships from the United Earth States, the Pacific Alliance, the African Federation, even 2 from the European Collective. Nations that barely cooperated were suddenly moving as one fleet. Dr. Hana worked in her lab, analyzing the fragments of data from Theta 7. She called Minho down after midnight. "Look at this," she said, showing him her screen. "These attack patterns. The hostiles aren't just attacking randomly. They're targeting specific weak points in Velcrin defenses." "So they studied Velcrin technology?" "More than studied. They know exactly where every shield generator is, exactly what frequency will break through, exactly how to cause maximum casualties in minimum time. Hana's voice shook. This is planned genocide, Minho. Someone gave them everything they needed. Minho felt anger burning in his gut. Who would do that? I don't know. But whoever attacked Theta 7 knew the Velcrin would call for help, and I think they wanted that. On the second day, Ambassador Yunji came to Minho with new information. She looked worse, her crystalline structure dull and cracked with stress. Captain, I must tell you something. 3 weeks ago, a Velcrin science vessel disappeared near the border. We thought it was a navigation accident. She held out a data chip with shaking hands. That vessel contained complete defense protocols for all Velcrin colonies. Every weakness, every backup system, everything. Minho took the chip. Someone stole your secrets and used them to kill your people. Yes. Do you know who? Yunji made that broken glass sound again. The last transmission from Theta 7, before communications went dark, they described the attackers. Insectoid, 6 limbs, hive ships. She looked at him. Human databases might know them. Minho went cold. He ran to the bridge and accessed the military database. Insectoid, 6 limbs, hive ships. The search brought up one result. Harkoth Collective. No, Yoon breathed beside him. They haven't been seen in 30 years. Minho remembered the history. 40 years ago, humans had first encountered the Harkoth. The insectoid raiders had attacked a human colony. The war lasted 3 months and ended with 70% of the Harkoth fleet destroyed. But humans didn't finish them. The coalition had ordered humanity to stop, calling the human response excessive and frightening, so humanity stopped. The Harkoth retreated into deep space and were never seen again, until now. They waited, Minho said quietly. They waited for the right moment. They studied us. They knew if they attacked a coalition world, we'd come. It's a trap, Yoon said. I know. We should warn the other ships. They already know, and they're still coming. Minho looked at the star map. All those ships converging on one point. Because that's what humans do. Someone calls for help, we answer. On the third day, the iron wind and the growing human fleet dropped out of slip space at the edge of the Theta 7 system. The sensor display lit up like a nightmare. 200 Harkoth vessels orbited Theta 7. Raiders, destroyers, carriers, and massive hive ships that blotted out the stars. The planet below was burning. Cities that had stood for centuries were now craters. And the Harkoth fleet wasn't running. They were waiting. Weapons hot, formation perfect. Lieutenant Day's voice cracked. Sir, they knew we'd come. They're ready for us. Minho studied the display. 23 human ships against 200 Harkoth vessels. By any logical calculation, this was suicide. Get me a channel to all human vessels, he said. When the channel opened, he didn't waste time. All ships, this is Captain Minho of the Iron Wind. You all see what we're facing. No one will blame you if you turn back. Silence on the channel for a moment, then Admiral Bora's voice came through. She commanded the Righteous Fury, a massive battle carrier. Captain Minho, I didn't come here to watch. My people didn't cross 3 sectors to turn around. Other voices chimed in, captains from a dozen nations, all saying the same thing. They came to fight. Minho felt something fierce and proud in his chest. This was humanity, stubborn, reckless, unwilling to abandon those who called for help, even when those same people had mocked them for years. Then let's show them what Deathworlders can do, Minho said. The Harkoth broadcast a message. Ambassador Yunji translated it, her voice hollow. They say they have 40,000 Velcrin civilians as hostages on the surface. They say if we attack, the hostages die. They say we should surrender. Minho looked at the burning planet, at the massive fleet, at the trap that had been set so carefully. Then he looked at his crew, at Yoon's cold determination, at Day's nervous energy, at Hana's compassion, at all the humans who came because someone needed help. "No," he said simply. "We don't surrender. We're going to save those people, all of them." "How?" Yunji asked. Minho smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "We're going to do what scares everyone else in the galaxy. We're going to fight like humans." Admiral Bora's face filled the main screen. She was an older woman with gray streaking through her black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind her, the bridge of the Righteous Fury bustled with activity. "All captains, listen carefully," she said. Her voice carried the weight of command. "I'm assuming tactical control of this operation. Any objections?" Silence on the channel. Bora had more experience than any of them. If anyone could get them through this, it was her. "Good. First, we need information. What are we really facing?" Lieutenant Day worked frantically at his console. "Ma'am, I'm reading 208 Harkoth vessels. Composition is 70 raiders, 80 destroyers, 40 cruisers, 15 carriers, and 3 hive ships. The hive ships are massive. Each one is bigger than our largest battle carrier." Someone whistled on the channel. Those were bad odds. Really bad odds. "What about the surface?" Bora asked. Dr. Hana stepped forward on the Iron Winds bridge. "Admiral, this is Dr. Hana Kang, xenobiologist. I've been monitoring transmissions from the planet. The Harkoth have concentrated the surviving Velkryn in 3 main mining facilities. The facilities are in the northern continent, clustered together." "How many survivors?" Hana's voice was quiet. "Based on life signs, approximately 22,000. The rest are—" She couldn't finish. 15,000 dead in just 3 days. Minho felt rage building in his chest. This wasn't war. This was slaughter. The Harkoth had killed civilians first, soldiers second. They wanted to break the Velkryn completely. "There's more," Hana continued. "The mining facilities where they're holding hostages are rigged with explosives. If we attack, they'll detonate everything." Yoon cursed under her breath. "They planned this perfectly." Admiral Bora's expression didn't change. She'd seen this kind of evil before. "Captain Minho, Ambassador Yunji is with you, correct?" "Yes, ma'am." "Put her on screen." Yunji stepped into view, her crystalline body dimmer than usual. She looked fragile, like she might shatter. "Ambassador," Bora said gently, "I need to know something. 3 weeks ago, you lost a science vessel with defense protocols. How did that happen?" Yunji's voice chimed with pain. "We don't know. The ship was on a routine survey mission. It sent a distress call about engine failure, then went silent. We sent search teams but found nothing." She paused. "We thought it was an accident." "It wasn't," Minho said. "The Harkoth took that ship. They studied everything on it. They learned how to break your defenses, where your colonies are, how you respond to threats. Then they planned this attack." "But why?" Yunji asked. "Why go to such effort? Why not just attack?" It was Yoon who answered. "Because they wanted us here. The Harkoth fought humans 40 years ago. They lost badly. This is revenge, but it's also a trap. They knew if they attacked a coalition member, humans would come. And we did." Day pulled up historical records. "Ma'am, I found the old battle reports from the first Harkoth War. Humans destroyed 70% of their fleet in 3 months. But the coalition ordered us to stop. They said our tactics were too aggressive, too violent. They made us let the Harkoth retreat." Admiral Bora's face went hard. "So the Harkoth ran. They hid. They planned. And now they're back. And they think they can beat us because we'll follow coalition rules." "Will we?" someone asked on the channel. The question hung in the air. Coalition warfare rules were strict. No surprise attacks. No targeting of civilian areas even if enemies hide there. Always accept surrender. Always negotiate before fighting. Rules designed to make war civilized. But the Harkoth weren't following rules. They'd killed 15,000 civilians already. They were using hostages as shields. There was nothing civilized about this. "We need to vote," Admiral Bora said. "What I'm about to propose breaks every coalition warfare protocol. Some of you might face courts-martial. Some of you might lose your careers. But it's the only way to save those hostages and destroy the Harkoth." She took a breath. "I'm proposing we use the Deathworld doctrine." The channel erupted. Captains started talking over each other. The Deathworld doctrine was a classified human military protocol. It had been written after the first Harkoth War but never used. Most people didn't even know it existed. Minho knew about it. It was simple and terrifying. When facing an enemy that used civilians as shields and refused to follow warfare rules, humanity was authorized to respond with overwhelming force. Ignore surrender. Ignore hostages if necessary. Win at any cost. It was called the Deathworld Doctrine because it was how humans fought on Earth before they reached the stars. Total war, no mercy, complete victory, or complete destruction. "This is insane," one captain said. "The coalition will crucify us." "They might," Bora agreed, "but 22,000 Velkrin will be alive. You saw the Harkoth message. They're not bluffing about the hostages. If we try to negotiate, those people die. If we follow standard coalition battle tactics, we lose and those people die. The doctrine is the only option." Silence fell across the channel. Then Dr. Hana spoke up. Her voice was shaking. "Admiral, I have to object. I know those hostages are at risk, but if we use the doctrine, we're accepting that some of them might die anyway. We're trading guaranteed death for possible death. That's..." She struggled for words. "That's playing God." "You're right," Bora said. "It is. But someone has to make that choice. And I'd rather make it than let the Harkoth make it for us." Ambassador Unji suddenly stepped forward on the Iron Wind's screen. Her voice was stronger now, more focused. "Admiral Bora, this is my decision to make. Those are my people down there. My responsibility." Bora nodded. "Then decide, Ambassador." Unji looked at all the human faces on the screens. These violent, aggressive, terrifying humans who had crossed stars to answer a distress call from people who'd mocked them. She thought about her people below, huddled in mining facilities, waiting for death or rescue. 3 months ago, I called humans barbarians," Unji said. "I said your military was primitive and your tactics were shameful. I was wrong. Not about the violence. You are violent. But violence isn't always wrong." Her voice hardened. "Use your doctrine. Do whatever humans do best. Save my people." The channel was silent for 3 heartbeats. Then Admiral Bora spoke. "All ships, prepare for combat. Battle Group Alpha will be led by Captain Minho. Battle Group Beta will be under my direct command. Battle Group Gamma will be our fastest ships. Lieutenant Day, upload tactical plans to all vessels." Day's fingers flew. "Uploading now, ma'am." The plans appeared on Minho's screen. He studied them and felt his blood run cold. This was insane. This was suicide. This was brilliant. "You want us to slip space jump inside their formation?" one captain asked, disbelief in his voice. "That's right," Bora said. "The Harkoth expect standard coalition tactics, cautious, defensive, long range. They're not expecting us to appear in their faces." Yoon leaned close to Minho. "Sir, that kind of jump is incredibly dangerous. If our calculations are off by even a fraction, we'll materialize inside a Harkoth ship." "I know," Minho said. "We could lose half our ships just from the jump." "I know. It's a crazy plan." Minho smiled. "It's a human plan." Pilot Jiwon's voice came over the ship's internal comm. "Captain, my squadron is ready. Just give us a target." Jiwon commanded the Iron Wind's fighter squadron. She was young, cocky, and had more confirmed kills than pilots twice her age. Her squadron called her Reaper. "You'll get your target soon, Reaper," Minho said. Over the next hour, the human fleet reorganized. Ships moved into 3 groups. Battle Group Alpha had 8 ships, including the Iron Wind. Their job was to draw away part of the Harkoth fleet. Battle Group Beta had 10 ships, including the Righteous Fury. They would punch straight through the center. Battle Group Gamma had 5 ships, the smallest and fastest. They would do the impossible jump. All ships, this is Admiral Bora. In 30 minutes, we attack. You all volunteered to be here. You all knew the risks. Now let's show the galaxy what happens when you call for help and humans answer. She paused. For the hostages, for the Velcrin, for every innocent life those monsters took. No mercy, no surrender, no retreat. 23 ships responded as one. No mercy, no surrender, no retreat. Minho looked at his crew. Yoon stood ready at tactical. Day monitored sensors with nervous energy. Dr. Hana watched from the corner, her face pale but determined. Ambassador Yoonji stood straight, her crystalline body glowing brighter. Yoon, charge all weapons, Minho ordered. Weapons charged, sir. Day, plot our attack vector. Vector plotted, sir. Hana, prepare medical bay for casualties. Medical is ready, sir. Minho sat in his command chair and stared at the Harkoth fleet. 200 ships. Hundreds of thousands of insectoid warriors who thought they'd trapped humanity. They were about to learn what it meant to fight Deathworlders. All ships! Bora's voice came over the channel one last time. Attack formation. On my mark. A pause. Mark. The human fleet moved forward as one, accelerating toward overwhelming odds. Behind them, sensors detected more human ships dropping out of slip space. Word had spread. More were coming. The galaxy was about to witness what humans did best. The first shots came from the Harkoth. Streams of plasma fire and missiles filled the space between the 2 fleets. The human ships' shields flared bright as energy weapons hammered them. Battle Group Alpha, break left, Minho ordered. Draw them away from the main fleet. The Iron Wind and 7 other ships peeled off from the formation. Immediately, 80 Harkoth vessels pursued them. The plan was working. The Harkoth took the bait. They're following us, sir, Day reported, his voice tight. Good. Make them chase us. Yoon, return fire. Make them angry. The Iron Wind's weapons blazed. Missiles streaked toward the nearest Harkoth destroyer. The first volley splashed harmlessly against its shields. The second volley broke through and tore into the hull. The destroyer spun away, trailing atmosphere. One down, Yoon said with satisfaction. But 79 more were right behind it. Minho watched his tactical display. Battle Group Beta, led by Admiral Bora's Righteous Fury, was pushing straight into the center of the Harkoth formation. The Harkoth were closing around them like a fist. It looked like suicide. That was the point. Day, how long until Battle Group Gamma makes their jump? 2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes. They had to survive 2 minutes. Minho gripped his chair as the ship shook from multiple impacts. Shields at 60%, Yoon reported. Keep them busy. Don't let them turn around. Across the battlefield, Admiral Bora's voice came over the channel. Her ship was taking a beating, surrounded by Harkoth vessels on all sides. All Beta ships, tighten formation, concentrate fire on their carriers. 10 human ships formed a tight defensive sphere. Their combined firepower was devastating. A Harkoth carrier exploded in a ball of flame, then another. But the Harkoth kept coming, like angry insects swarming around an intruder. 30 seconds, Day said. Minho counted down in his head. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. 5. Space tore open. 5 human ships appeared directly in the center of the Harkoth formation. It was Battle Group Gamma, completing the most dangerous slip space jump anyone had ever attempted. They jumped blind, trusting calculations and luck, materializing in the middle of hundreds of enemy vessels. The Harkoth fleet panicked. Human ships were suddenly everywhere, in front, behind, inside their formation. The careful defensive positions the Harkoth had maintained fell apart as ships tried to track multiple threats. "Now!" Admiral Bora shouted. "All fighters, launch!" Hundreds of human fighters poured out of carriers. They were tiny compared to the capital ships, but they were fast and deadly. Pilot Jiwan's voice cut through the comm chatter. "Reaper Squadron, follow me. Target those Harkoth carriers." Jiwan's squadron dove into the chaos. Fighters twisted and turned through a maze of larger ships. Harkoth point defense tried to track them, but the human pilots were too fast, too skilled. They'd trained for this their entire lives. Jiwan locked onto a Harkoth carrier and fired. Her missiles hit the carrier's communication array and it exploded in sparks. The carrier went dark, unable to coordinate with the rest of the fleet. "Target destroyed," Jiwan reported, already moving to her next victim. On the Iron Wind's bridge, alarms screamed. A Harkoth destroyer was right on top of them, weapons blazing. "Shields failing," Yoon shouted. Minho made a split-second decision. It was crazy. It was reckless. It was human. "Full power to engines. Ram them." "Sir?" Day's voice cracked. "You heard me. Ram them." The Iron Wind accelerated directly at the Harkoth destroyer. The enemy ship tried to turn away, but it was too late. The two vessels collided with a shriek of tearing metal. The Iron Wind's reinforced bow smashed through the destroyer's thinner hull. For a moment, everything was chaos. Sparks flew, systems failed, the lights flickered. Then the Iron Wind broke through to the other side, trailing debris but intact. "Damage report," Minho barked. "Forward shields gone, hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, but we're alive," Yoon said. She was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but grinning. "That was insane, sir." "It worked, didn't it?" On the planet's surface, Lieutenant So-min and her Marines were preparing for the most dangerous part of the mission. They were packed into drop pods attached to the Iron Wind's hull. Each pod held 4 Marines in full combat armor. "Listen up," So-min said over the squad channel. "We're dropping through an active combat zone. Some pods won't make it. The ones that do land need to secure those hostages before the Harkoth can detonate the explosives." One of the younger Marines spoke up. "Ma'am, what if we can't stop them in time?" So-min checked her weapon. "Then we make sure we take as many of those bug-faced bastards with us as possible. Anyone have a problem with that?" Silence. These were volunteers. They knew the odds. "Iron Wind to drop teams," Minho's voice came through. "We're in position. Launch when ready." "Roger that, Captain." So-min took a deep breath. "All pods launch." 50 drop pods detached from the Iron Wind and other nearby ships. They fell toward the planet like meteors, engines burning hot. Harkoth ships fired at them. 12 pods exploded before reaching the atmosphere. 12 pods full of Marines who'd never see home again. The remaining 38 pods hit the atmosphere and started to glow from friction. Inside, So-min gritted her teeth as G-forces pressed her into her seat. The pod shook violently. Through the small window, she could see the ground rushing up. 3,000 meters, 2,000, 1,000. The pod's landing thrusters fired and So-min's stomach lurched. Then they hit the ground with a bone-jarring crash. The pod door blew off and So-min was up and moving before the smoke cleared. The mining facility was ahead. She could see Harkoth soldiers guarding the entrance. They turned toward the landing pods, raising weapons. They hadn't expected humans to drop directly into a combat zone. No sane species would do that. "Reaper team, with me!" So-min charged forward, her rifle barking. Other Marines poured out of their pods, forming a wave of armored humanity. The Harkoth opened fire. 2 Marines went down, then 5. But the rest kept coming, shooting, screaming battle cries, moving with a speed and aggression that shocked the insectoid warriors. So-min reached the entrance and threw a grenade. The explosion tore through 3 Harkoth soldiers. She leaped through the smoke, firing her rifle on full auto. A Harkoth tried to grab her with its 6 limbs. She broke 2 of them with her armored fists and shot it in the face. "Secure the hostages!" she screamed. "Move! Move! Move!" In orbit, the battle raged. The human fleet was taking losses. 2 destroyers were gone. A cruiser was listing, atmosphere venting from multiple wounds. But the Harkoth were losing more. Much more. Admiral Bora's righteous fury was covered in scorch marks, but still fighting. Her tactical display showed the Harkoth fleet fragmenting. The surprise attack had worked. Now it was just a matter of grinding them down. "All ships, concentrate fire on the hive ships," she ordered. "Take out their command structure." 20 human ships turned their weapons on the 3 massive Harkoth hive ships. The giants were powerful, but they were slow. Wave after wave of missiles and energy beams slammed into them. The first hive ship's shields collapsed. Human guns tore into its hull. Secondary explosions rippled across its surface. Then the entire ship simply came apart, breaking into burning pieces. "Hive ship destroyed," someone reported. The second hive ship tried to run. It turned away from the battle, engines glowing as it attempted to escape to slip space. But pilot Jiwan and her squadron were waiting. "Reaper Squadron, target their engines!" 20 fighters dove at the massive ship, dodging its point defense fire. Jiwan's targeting computer locked on. She fired everything she had. The hive ship's engines exploded and the ship went dark, drifting helplessly. "Target disabled," Jiwan reported. "Someone want to finish it?" The Iron Wind obliged. A full volley of missiles ended the hive ship. On the ground, Soman and her Marines pushed deeper into the mining facility. They found the Velkrin hostages in a large chamber. 22,000 crystalline beings huddled together, terrified and traumatized. And surrounding them were explosives. Lots of explosives. "Bomb squad, get those deactivated now," Soman ordered. 3 Marines with explosive training rushed forward. Their hands moved quickly over the devices, cutting wires and disabling triggers. Soman and the rest of the Marines formed a defensive perimeter. More Harkoth soldiers were coming, drawn by the sound of fighting. "How long?" Soman asked. 2 minutes, the bomb specialist said. "We don't have 2 minutes." More Harkoth poured into the chamber. Soman's Marines opened fire. The noise was deafening. Humans and Harkoth traded shots across the hostages. A Marine next to Soman went down with a smoking hole in his chest. She grabbed his weapon and kept firing. 1 minute, the bomb specialist said. Harkoth soldiers broke through on the left. Marines moved to intercept, fighting hand-to-hand when their guns ran dry. 1 Marine tackled a Harkoth and they rolled across the ground, punching and clawing. The Marine won, breaking the insectoid's neck. "Done!" the bomb specialist shouted. "Explosives neutralized!" "Get the hostages out," Soman ordered. "Double time." In orbit, sensors detected something new. More human ships dropping out of slip space. 47 more vessels, arriving without being called. Word had spread across human space. There was a battle, and fellow humans needed help. The Harkoth fleet, already breaking apart, saw the reinforcements and panicked. Ships tried to flee, but Admiral Bora's voice was cold and final. "No mercy, no surrender, no retreat. Hunt them down." Human ships pursued the fleeing Harkoth like wolves chasing prey. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was an execution. The Harkoth had come here for revenge. They'd gotten it, just not the way they'd expected. On the Iron Wind's bridge, Minho watched the tactical display. The Harkoth were finished. The hostages were safe. They'd won. But the price was high. He could see the names scrolling across his screen. Ships lost, lives ended. All because someone had called for help, and humans answered. "Captain," Day said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's Ambassador Yunji." Yunji's face appeared on screen. She was surrounded by rescued Velkrin, her crystalline body glowing with relief and grief. "Captain Minho," she said, "my people are safe. 20,183 survivors. Because of you, because humans came when we called." She paused. "Thank you." Minho nodded. He was too tired to smile. "That's what we do, Ambassador. Someone calls for help, we come." Around him, His battered crew began the work of counting the cost of their victory. The battle was over, but the dying wasn't finished. Dr. Junho worked in the medical bay of the Iron Wind, his hands covered in blood. Human blood, Velcrin blood, even some Harkoth blood from prisoners. It all looked the same after a while. Red, blue, green, just colors marking where life was leaking out. "Another one coming in," a nurse called. Junho looked up to see Marines carrying in Lieutenant Somin. She was conscious but pale, a piece of shrapnel sticking out of her side. Her armor had saved her life, but couldn't stop everything. "Lay her here," Junho said, already moving. His hands moved automatically after 47 hours of non-stop surgery. Cut away the armor, stop the bleeding, clean the wound, stitch, bandage, move to the next patient. "Doc," Somin said through gritted teeth, "how many did we lose?" "Not now. Stay still." "How many?" Junho sighed. 12 Marines didn't make it off the pods. Another 18 died securing the hostages. Total casualties across all ships. He trailed off. "Tell me." 1,847. That's including the missing. Presumed dead. Somin closed her eyes. 30 of those were her people. 30 Marines who'd followed her into hell and didn't come back. On the bridge, Captain Minho read the same casualty reports. 12 human ships destroyed, 5 more damaged beyond repair, nearly 2,000 people who'd answered a distress call and paid the ultimate price. Commander Yoon stood beside him, a bandage wrapped around her head. "We won, sir." "Did we?" Minho gestured at the casualty list. 1,800 dead to save 20,000. Is that winning? It is when the alternative was all of them dead. Minho knew she was right, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. Admiral Bora called a meeting of all surviving ship captains. Her face on the screen looked older, more tired. The battle had aged her. "I want casualty reports from every vessel," she said. "I want names. I want to know who gave their lives today. Their families deserve to know they died saving innocent lives." The reports came in. Each name was read aloud. Each life was acknowledged. It took 2 hours to read all the names. When it was done, one of the captains spoke up. "Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the Galactic Coalition Council. They want a full report on the battle." "Let them wait," Bora said coldly. "Ma'am, they're already talking about convening an investigation. We broke a lot of rules today." Bora's expression hardened. "We saved 20,000 lives. If they want to investigate that, let them come here and explain to the survivors why we should have let them die." On the surface of Theta 7, the survivors were being evacuated to Coalition medical ships. Ambassador Yoonji walked through the ruins of what had been her people's home. Cities were craters, forests were ash. Entire generations had been wiped out in 3 days. Dr. Hana walked beside her, offering silent support. There were no words for this kind of loss. "My daughter lived here," Yoonji said quietly. Her voice didn't chime anymore. It was flat, empty. "She was an artist. She made sculptures from light. Beautiful, impossible things." She gestured at a blackened crater. "Her studio was there. Now it's just gone." "I'm sorry," Hana said. "My daughter's body was in the mass grave your Marines found, along with 15,000 others. The Harkoth killed them before you even arrived, before we sent the distress call." Yoonji turned to look at Hana. "They killed them first. While we were still trying to negotiate, still trying to reason with them, they were executing civilians." Hana felt sick. "Yoonji, do you know what I'm grateful for?" Yoonji's voice was stronger now. "I'm grateful you humans don't try to reason with monsters. When you saw what was happening, you didn't debate. You didn't form committees. You didn't calculate political costs. You just came, and you destroyed them." More human ships had continued arriving throughout the cleanup operations. The final count was 70 human vessels from 18 different nations. No one had called them. They'd simply come when they heard humans were fighting. Colonel Tai Yang commanded the late arrivals. He was a heavy-set man with a scarred face and a reputation for brutal efficiency. When he saw the Harkoth fleet was already broken, he'd turned his attention to the stragglers. "All ships hunt mode," he'd ordered. "Any Harkoth vessel attempting to flee this system is to be destroyed. No warnings, no mercy." His ships had systematically hunted down every Harkoth vessel that tried to escape. 63 ships tried to run. None made it to slipspace. Now, Colonel Taeyang's ship docked with the Iron Wind. He wanted to meet with Admiral Bora and Captain Minho. They gathered in a briefing room. Minho, Bora, Taeyang, Yoon, and several other senior officers. "We captured the Harkoth commander," Taeyang said without preamble. "Swarm Prime Chkirik. He's the one who planned this whole attack." "Where is he?" Minho asked. "In the brig on my ship. I thought you'd want to question him." They brought Chkirik to the briefing room in restraints. The Harkoth leader was huge, even for his species. His 6 limbs were bound and his compound eyes glittered with hatred. "You think you won," Chkirik said in translated speech. His voice sounded like clicking mandibles. "You think this is victory? But the galaxy sees what you are now. Monsters, savages. You killed every ship that tried to retreat. You showed no mercy." Admiral Bora stepped forward until she was face to face with the alien. "You murdered 15,000 civilians before we even arrived. You used innocents as shields. You rigged children to explode. And you dare call us monsters?" "We are what the universe made us," Chkirik said. "You humans stopped us once 40 years ago. The Coalition made you show mercy. We rebuilt, we planned, and we came back. We wanted you to see what happens when you show weakness." "You made a mistake," Bora said quietly. "You assumed we'd follow Coalition rules because we had to. But those rules only matter when the enemy follows them too. You proved you won't. So we stopped pretending." Chkirik laughed, a horrible chittering sound. "The galaxy will turn against you now. They fear you already. After today, they'll isolate you, sanction you, maybe even attack you. We've won even in defeat." "Maybe," Minho said, "but you'll never know. Because you'll spend the rest of your very long life locked in a cell, conscious and alone, thinking about how you failed." They'd turned Chkirik over to the Velkrin authorities. The Velkrin didn't have a death penalty. Instead, they had something worse: memory imprisonment. The criminal's consciousness was locked in a virtual cell with nothing but their own thoughts. Forever. No sleep, no dreams, no escape, just endless awareness. When Chkirik realized what awaited him, he'd begged for execution instead. The Velkrin refused. 2 days after the battle, the cleanup continued. Ships collected the dead. Engineers worked on repairs. Diplomats tried to manage the political fallout. Pilot Jiwon sat in the pilot ready room with what was left of her squadron. They'd started with 20 fighters. 13 came back. She raised a glass to the empty chairs. "To Dong-yun, who always flew on my wing. To Hanul, who made us laugh even in the dark. To Jisoo, Hyunwoo, Nari, Minseo, and Kyungho. They were the best of us." Her voice cracked. "They died saving people who called them savages." The surviving pilots drank in silence. Lieutenant Day found Dr. Hana in the observation deck. She was staring at the damaged planet below. "We did the right thing," Day said. It sounded like he was trying to convince himself. "I know," Hana said. "But the right thing still cost 1,800 lives. The right thing still required us to become what everyone already thinks we are. Violent, aggressive, dangerous. Maybe that's what the galaxy needs," Day suggested. "Someone willing to be dangerous to protect the innocent." Hana turned to look at him. She was crying. "Then God help us all. Because if humans become the galaxy's monsters, even monsters we choose to be, we might forget how to be anything else." A transmission came through. The Galactic Coalition Council was formally requesting the presence of Admiral Bora, Captain Minho, and other senior officers. There would be an investigation into human conduct during the battle. Potential charges included excessive force, refusal to accept surrender, and violations of 17 different warfare protocols. When Admiral Bora read the summons, she laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "They want to put us on trial," she said. "We saved 20,000 lives and they want to put us on trial." "Will you go?" Minho asked. "Oh, I'll go. And I'll make them explain to those 20,000 survivors why humans should have followed the rules while watching them die." Word of the investigation spread through the human fleet. The mood turned ugly. Captains talked about refusing the summons. Some suggested humanity should leave the coalition entirely. It was Ambassador Yunji who stopped them. She requested permission to address all human vessels. Admiral Bora granted it. Yunji's image appeared on every ship's view screen. She looked stronger now, her crystalline body glowing with fierce light. "I am Ambassador Yunji of the Velkrin people. 3 days ago, my people were dying and we called for help. You came. You fought. You saved us. Now the coalition wants to punish you for that." She paused. "I will stand beside you at that trial. I will testify that I authorized your actions, that I asked you to do whatever was necessary. If they want to condemn you, they must condemn me too." She looked directly at the camera. "You humans call yourselves Deathworlders. You say you come from hell. Today I learned what that means. It means when hell itself calls for help, you answer, and I will never forget that." The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Admiral Bora made her decision. "We go to the Council, we face their investigation, and we make them understand that humanity will always answer when someone calls for help, even if it costs us everything." The Galactic Coalition Council chambers were massive. Built to accommodate representatives from 47 different species, the space was designed to be impressive. High ceilings, floating platforms for aquatic species, temperature-controlled sections for those who needed cold or heat. It was a monument to cooperation and civilization. Today, it felt like a courtroom. Admiral Bora stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by a ring of alien representatives. Captain Minho stood beside her, along with Commander Yoon, Colonel Taeyang, and Lieutenant Somin. All wore their dress uniforms. All looked tired. High Arbiter Zelkoth presided over the proceedings. He was an insectoid, though not Harkoth. His species valued law above all else. He looked at the humans with what might have been concern or might have been fear. "This council recognizes Admiral Bora Tak of the United Earth States and her officers," Zelkoth said. His translated voice was formal. "You stand accused of 19 violations of coalition warfare protocols. How do you answer?" Before Bora could speak, Chancellor Mina stepped forward. She was Earth's chief ambassador to the coalition, a small woman with sharp eyes and sharper words. "High Arbiter, my clients will answer all charges. But first, I would ask the Council to review the evidence of what actually happened at Theta 7. "The Council has reviewed all evidence," Zelkoth said. "Then you know what the Harkoth did. You know they murdered 15,000 civilians before the distress call was even sent. You know they used living hostages as shields. You know they rigged children to explode." Mina's voice rose. "And you know that by the time any coalition-approved response could arrive, every single Velkrin on that planet would be dead." A representative from the Paxthor species stood. They were a peaceful, floating, jellyfish-like species. "Ambassador Mina, no one disputes the Harkoth's crimes. But the humans' response was excessive. They destroyed every Harkoth vessel. They refused surrender. They hunted down fleeing ships. This is not how civilized species conduct war." "Civilized," Mina repeated. "You want civilized warfare? Tell me, how many Paxthor colonies have been attacked in the last century?" The representative hesitated. "None." "How many Velkrin colonies were attacked before Theta 7? "Also none." "And how many human colonies have been attacked?" Silence. 17, Mina said. 17 times in 87 years someone has attacked human settlements, pirates, raiders, rogue states. And every time we followed your civilized rules, we negotiated, we showed restraint, we accepted surrender. She looked around the chamber. And every time, the attackers came back, because they learned that humans were bound by rules they didn't follow. Zelkoth tapped his mandibles together, a sign of thought. Are you arguing that humans should be exempt from warfare protocols? I'm arguing that protocols only work when everyone follows them. The Harkoth didn't, so why should we? Another representative stood. This one was Velkrin, crystalline body glowing with soft light. I am Keeper Shenkal of the Velkrin High Council. I wish to speak. The council recognizes Keeper Shenkal, Zelkoth said. Shenkal was old, his crystalline structure showing cracks from centuries of life. He spoke slowly, each word carefully chosen. 3 weeks ago, my people mocked humanity. We called them primitive, violent, barely civilized. We said they were an embarrassment to the coalition. He paused. Then our children started dying, and we called those same primitives for help. The chamber was silent now. I watched the battle recordings, Shenkal continued. I saw human ships ram enemy vessels. I saw their pilots fly through impossible odds. I saw their marines drop through active combat onto a hostile planet. And I asked myself, why would anyone do such things? Why would anyone risk death for people who mocked them? He turned to face the humans. I asked Admiral Bora this question. Do you know what she said? She said, because you called for help. As if it was that simple. As if there was never any question. Shenkal's voice strengthened. My people are alive today because humans value life more than rules. Because they chose to save the innocent over appearing civilized. You want to punish them for that? He looked at Zelkoth. Then punish me too. Because I authorized their actions. I told them to do whatever was necessary. Ambassador Yunji stood from the Velkrin section. She moved to stand beside the humans. I am Ambassador Yunji. I was aboard the human vessel Iron Wind during the battle. I gave the order to use the Deathworld doctrine. Her voice was clear and strong. My daughter died in a Harkoth mass grave, along with 15,000 other Velkrin. They died while we were still trying to negotiate, still trying to follow proper protocols. The Harkoth laughed at our civilization while they murdered us. She faced the council. You want to know why humans are dangerous? They're dangerous because they don't calculate political cost when lives are at stake. They don't form committees when children are dying. They just act. She paused. And I thank whatever gods exist that they do. The prosecutor, a tall avian species, stood. Emotional testimony aside, the humans broke the law. 19 specific violations. The law must apply equally to all species. Then change the law, Chancellor Mina said flatly. Excuse me? Change the law. Make it realistic. Make it account for enemies who don't follow the rules. Make it protect the innocent instead of protecting the guilty. Mina stepped forward. Or admit that your laws are designed to make you feel civilized while others die. That's absurd, the prosecutor said. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, your laws protected the Harkoth better than they protected the Velkrin. Admiral Bora finally spoke. Her voice was calm, measured, and completely unapologetic. High Arbiter, I don't regret my actions at Theta 7. Not one bit. We saved 20,000 lives. If that makes us criminals, so be it. But I want this council to understand something. She looked around the chamber. The next time someone calls for help, humans will answer. We'll answer even if you tell us not to. We'll answer even if you threaten us, because that's what we do. That sounds like a threat, one representative said nervously. It's not a threat. It's a promise. Bora's eyes were hard. You can sanction us, you can investigate us, you can make all the rules you want, but you can't stop us from protecting innocent lives. That's not civilization. That's just who we are." The council deliberated for 6 hours. The humans waited outside the chamber. None of them spoke much. They knew what was coming. Finally, they were called back. High Arbiter Zelkoth read the verdict. After careful consideration, this council finds that while human forces at Theta 7 did violate warfare protocols, the circumstances were extraordinary. The Harkoth Collective's actions represented an existential threat to the Velcrin species. He paused. Therefore, the Council issues a formal censure of human military conduct, but no further punishment. However, future human military operations must include coalition oversight to ensure compliance with interspecies law. The chamber buzzed with mixed reactions. Some species looked relieved, others looked scared. The humans just looked tired. Outside the chamber, reporters from across the galaxy swarmed them. Questions came from every direction. "Admiral Bora, do you accept the Council's verdict? Will humanity comply with oversight requirements? Do you think humans are too violent for the coalition?" Bora held up a hand for silence. When she spoke, her words were broadcast across dozens of star systems. "We accept the censure. We'll work with coalition oversight. But make no mistake, the next time someone screams for help, humans will be there, with or without permission, because saving lives isn't something we need authorization for." Back on the Iron Wind, the crew watched the broadcast. Someone started clapping, then another. Soon the whole ship was applauding. Pilot Jiwan sat in the pilot ready room with her squadron. The empty chairs still hurt to look at. "So we're criminals now?" "Criminals who saved 20,000 people, another pilot said. "I can live with that." Dr. Hana found Captain Minho in his quarters, packing his belongings. There were rumors he was retiring after this. "So what now?" Hana asked. Minho looked at her. "Now, we get ready for the next call, because there will be a next call. There's always someone who needs help. And we'll go." "We'll go." He smiled slightly. "We're humans. It's what we do." 6 months passed. The political aftermath of Theta 7 slowly faded. The coalition implemented new protocols, though most species ignored them when convenient. Human ships continued patrolling, watching, waiting. Then another distress call came. A colony under attack. Unknown raiders. The Coalition Council immediately convened to discuss proper response procedures. They debated appropriate force levels. They discussed diplomatic approaches. They formed a committee to study options. While they debated, 17 human ships were already halfway there. Admiral Bora, now commanding a new fleet, received a transmission from the Council demanding she wait for authorization. She deleted it. On distant Theta 7, now slowly rebuilding, Ambassador Yunji stood at a memorial. Names carved in crystal, each one representing a life lost. 15,000 names, plus the names of 1,800 humans who died saving strangers. A human ship passed overhead, patrolling the system. Yunji looked up at it and spoke softly to the memorial. "They're still watching, still protecting. The galaxy calls them monsters, but monsters don't guard the innocent." She touched her daughter's name on the crystal. "They're just the ones who come when we call." In the depths of space, word spread quietly among the species who thought themselves civilized. A new phrase entered common use, spoken in fear and respect and sometimes hope. Deathworlder response. It meant, when the situation is desperate, when the innocent are dying, when civilized options have failed, call the humans. They won't follow the rules. They won't calculate the political cost. They won't debate proper procedure. They'll just come, and God help anyone in their way. Far away, on the Iron Wind's bridge, Captain Minho sat in his command chair. He hadn't retired after all. Couldn't. Not while people needed help. An alert chimed. Another distress call, another crisis, another chance to prove that humanity would always answer. "Set course," Minho said. "Maximum speed." The ship hummed to life, accelerating toward the unknown. Behind them, more human ships began turning toward the same coordinates. They hadn't been called. They just knew other humans were going, and that meant someone needed help. That meant they were needed. The stars stretched past as the iron wind jumped to slip space, racing toward another desperate call. Racing to be the monsters who saved lives. Racing to prove that sometimes the galaxy needed savages more than it needed civilization. Because in the end, rules and protocols and civilized behavior mattered far less than one simple truth. When someone screamed for help, humans answered. Always.